I love rallying. I love rallying in much the same way as I love breathing. I've done a lot of breathing, not so much rallying. That had to change, and about 12 months ago I jumped in with 2 feet and ended up here.
Whoa, okay, good man.
And this is how I got there. Welcome to Making for Motorsport. So if you've been here before, you'll have seen me auto testing my Franken Mini. Now auto testing is very accessible and competitive and cheap for a motorsport. And I've also done lots of other motorsports. I've done karting, I've done road rallying, I've done car trials, I've done sprinting. But my heart has always been with stage rallying because of 2 men. My father and Colin McRae. One, a very fast and flamboyant world champion rally driver, and the other, well, he had a great moustache. And he's also driven a rally car once or twice. And it's time to follow in my father's footsteps. And I'm not talking about the facial hair. I'm talking about making rallying happen, making my dream happen, making me have no money happen. Let's go. First job was to go out and buy a rally car, and here it is, my little orange rocket. Now this is an MG-ZR, and it's basically your standard European shopping hatchback. It's meant for grannies to go shopping in, and occasionally it gets a big engine and boy racers tear around in it. And this one's boy racer mode because you've got the wing on the back and some chunky racy bumpers. Now the car comes with a lovely lightweight 16 valve engine, the Rover K series, that was famed for head gasket issues. And they came in various sizes from 1.4 with 90 horsepower all the way up to a variable valve timing 1.8 which had 160 horsepower. And that's not this one. When I got this, it had a standard 1.8 that gave a relatively anemic 130 horsepower. The car itself actually started as a 1.4 spec model, so that means we've got smaller brakes on the front, and on the back we're still running drums. I'm not going to go mad on explaining the car because, quite honestly, if you're interested, put it in the comments and I'll put another video on. But what it is a proper clubman rally car. We've got bucket seats, we've got harnesses, we've got a fancy steering wheel, we've got big slabs of aluminium underneath the car to protect it, and most importantly, we've got a nice little white nylon gear knob, so you know it's good. But what we do have, which does make this car a little special, is the holy grail of the automotive world, a plate type limited slip differential and a really low ratio crown wheel and pinion. So what does this fancy diff do? Well, it stops one tyre spinning on its own and basically locks them together. And the lower ratio crown wheel and pinion, well, that gives the engine a better mechanical advantage and puts about 30% more torque to the ground for any given engine speed. What it does do, though, is limit your top speed to about 100 miles an hour, which, let's face it, on roads like this...
Slowing, logs inside and 40, one left, now. Yep. Over bump and 40.
Well, that's probably a good thing. But for stage rallying, the most important thing this car has is this, a Motorsport UK vehicle passport. Now, this proves that that car has been thoroughly inspected by a scrutineer and it is put together properly. So this essentially means that this car is ready. But me, yeah, I've got a couple of other hoops to jump through. Now, I said there was lots of rules when it comes to stage rallying. Well, one of those rules is that you've got to have a driving license. And I don't just mean a normal driving license. I already have one of those. I mean a specific competition license for stage rallying. And to get that license, you have to pass a test. And it ain't your average driving test. And I booked one of these tests at Phil Price Rally School in Wales because they've got a blue Subaru Impreza. So the test has 3 parts. First is the classroom section where they teach you about all of the signs and some of the rules and kind of what you can expect on your average stage rally. Then there is a test on what you've just been taught, and it's not the trickiest thing in the world, it's multiple choice, but there are a lot of rules, so you've still got to concentrate. And then finally, there's the third section, which is the practical driving test. And this involves a four-wheel drive, turbocharged, full-blooded Subaru Impreza and gravel tracks, uphill and downhill in the Welsh countryside. Now, unfortunately, the in-car video I've got isn't great, but you get the idea. We're not hanging around. But yeah, I think the instructor was probably about right on his assessment.
Wrong with that. Okay. But I'll say we're here with our ability ambitiously. Okay. Fine.
But what matters most is that I passed, and we can get on to the next stage of preparation. What's the quote? Clothes maketh the man. Well, flameproof overalls and safety gear maketh the rally driver. So it was off to spend more money, and between a local place called GSM Performance and Demon Tweaks over in Wrexham, I got kitted out. And with all that, we're ready to go. The first event was the Cadwell Stages, held at Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire, which is also known as the Mini Nürburgring. And the event was in November, starts in the daylight and then runs off into the night time. So yeah, this is going to get a bit interesting. The first stages went really well, and we were overtaking and passing lots of cars. Clearly we were faster than the cars around us, but seeing as we started 73rd out of 74, we couldn't be much closer to the back. After a fairly steady start, we built the pace, and by the time we got to lunch, we were in the mid-30s overall. However, we were battling some problems because we had some head gasket problems with the little K-series. There wasn't much else to do about this problem other than keep putting more coolant in. But as the stages got on, it got darker, the sun went down, and then of course, it started raining. Well, I mean, it's just perfect, isn't it? So if you're doing your first stage rally, you may as well get your first stage rally and your first stage rally in the dark and your first stage rally in the wet out of the way in all one event. It's just efficient. But this was actually a stroke of luck, and we seemed to excel in these conditions and ended up 28th overall and first in class, with the car and engine hanging on to the end. However, it wasn't completely incident free, as I did manage to tag a straw bale on stage 7.
Whoa. There you go. Got away with that.
But a couple of dents aside, a really successful start. My second rally was at a soaking wet Donington Park, and the format was the same as Cadwell, tarmac stages on the track, utilising the infield as well, but also this time a bonus gravel section thrown in.
More than 90, right?
Starting car 77 out of 93 meant we were doing a lot of overtaking of slower cars again. But that was when they weren't just throwing themselves off the track in front of us.
Go right, go right, go right, go right. Oh, he's away. Okay.
Now this rally was great fun, and by the final few stages I was really starting to lean on the car and get some confidence.
Well, that was about it. Open hairpin right into tight hairpin left. Nicely done, yeah, come on.
And we secured another decent result, 35th overall, and again first in class.
Cheers.
The third event was at a local stately home, Weston Park, which is famous for the spectator stages of the RAC rally in the 80s and the 90s. So there's some heritage to these roads. And the water splash. Now this time we were seeded 37th, and we had a challenge because this is very much a point and squirt power venue, and you know, we don't have any power, unlike this fella. So we had to make up for the power deficit with a combination of bravery
right, half bridge. 90 right, 80, 90 right this way. This is new. Straight 200 into 60.
and stupidity. So now we are really going for it, but we made a few mistakes. Well, yeah, I did. Yeah, I misjudged some wet tyres on the back coming out of the water splash and nearly lost it on this fast right.
And this is where we had the moment, and instead of having fast, we've now written slippy.
Somehow managing to bend a rim. Along with another couple of little excursions onto the grass, I decided we really need to attack the straw bale chicanes.
Into 2 bar left. 2 bar left. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe a bit too aggressive there.
On the plus side, it's the one I bent at Cadwell.
You know, really, this is on the co-driver's side, and any proper rally driver only ever crashes on the co-driver's side. So, you know, proper rally driver. So we pulled out all the damage, gaffer taped it up and went and did the last stage.
It'll do.
And we ended up 30th overall, which is a pretty good result. And as an added bonus, we won the trophy for Best Mixed Crew. So just briefly, we're going to stop and just consider how much money we've spent so far. So we've bought the car, bought the safety kit, got the licence, and each of the events we've done so far has been about 350 quid entry fee. But all the tyres I've used, I got with the car. So actually, you know, apart from a hotel stay here and there, it's been reasonably affordable. Yeah, let's go to Anglesey. Trackmon in Anglesey is in a gorgeous part of Wales, and sometimes you feel like you're hanging off the edge of the world. The track couldn't be in a better place if it tried, and the rally makes great use of the fast, long corners of the track and also the extensive amount of infield that the track has. So just before this event, I treated myself to a lovely new pair of tyres, and they were soft compound because they'd worked well so far. So the first 2 stages we set reasonably competitive times, but you could feel the tyres starting to go off towards the end of the stage. And then by the end of the 3rd stage, this is what they look like. Just before lunch, we went over the famous Anglesey jump at the top of the hill. And on the 3rd time, I sent it. Yeah, I think I need better suspension if I'm going to take that flat.
2 hairpin left. Oh, that was quite a bounce. Think we'll take a lift there next time. Yeah.
By the time we got to lunch, those 2 new tyres were absolutely ruined. So the only thing I could do is go and buy 2 more tyres. This time I went for medium compound, which meant they lasted slightly longer and allowed us to push a little harder. But they were still taking massive amounts of wear on the long, fast corners of the Anglesey circuit. Now this amount of tyre wear was off the charts compared to the other events that I've done, and I wasn't prepared for it. So the last couple of stages we took it easy, just lifted on the longer corners, and it probably cost us about 30 seconds a stage. 35th overall and first in class was probably a decent result considering the problems we'd had on this, but this was an expensive rally. We burnt through £1,000 worth of tyres. But, you know, I've got this trophy, so winner. Next up, we went to a more traditional rallying venue, a disused airfield, RAF Fullbeck on the edge of Lincolnshire. This event allows you to recce the stages beforehand, so off I went on my mountain bike to go check it out. Now this obviously helped because after the first stage we were 9th overall. This venue is fairly open, being an old airfield, but there's lots of hay bale chicanes and rough sections that allow us to really lean on the brakes and be brave to drag back some of that time. But even so, I was a little bit flabbergasted at our position, as you can tell.
Second in class. A second in class is the 2 litre class, which is daft.
By the time we'd got to lunch, we were lying 6th overall and 2nd in class, which again was just not expected. So for the second half of the event, we decided to just carry on doing what we were doing. And keep pushing hard, but taking no crazy risks. That said, we still got pretty friendly with the hay bales, trying to find the time. Now this paid off, because at the end of the last stage, we were 4th overall, 1st in class, and 1st 2-wheel drive. All the 1st in class I've got up to now have been in the road rally class, and the road rally class means that there's a limitation on how much you can modify the engine and therefore the power you have, and also you've got to keep all the interior, but generally it means you're going against cars of a much lower specification. This time we were in the proper class, in the 2 litre class, against some really quick cars. 4 months on, I still don't really believe this result happened. Amazing. So in an attempt to make lightning strike twice, we went back to Fullbeck for the second event that was held there, the John Hickling Memorial. This time we were seeded car 12 out of 77, and this meant lining up at the start line behind cars with literally twice the power and twice the traction that we had. Compared to the first event at Fullbeck, the stages were far more open with far fewer chicanes, which meant that we hurted a lot more on the straights and we didn't have as many braking zones to make up that time. And for the first time we went backwards from our seeding position, and we were about 20th after the first stage. So that meant we really did need to get a bit bold with some of the braking points and the corner speed. However, we hung in there as other cars dropped by the wayside, and we clawed our way back up to finish on our seeding position, 12th overall and 3rd in class. Time for a real challenge. Up to now we've only really done tarmac rallies, and yes, there's been some loose sections, but nothing what you'd really call a proper gravel rally. And I'm sure when you guys think of rallying, you're thinking of trees, a mountain track, and rooster tails of gravel being thrown out behind the car. So that's what we got to do. So we went westwards to Wales and the Woodpecker Rally. Firstly, I needed to arrange a whole different set of tyres, knobbly ones this time. Yep, more money. And unlike the other events, this one has quite the entry fee. Nearly £1,000. I hope it's worth it. Spoiler alert, it was. So first stage, and we start fairly slowly, learning the car, how it moves, what the tyres do, and also the pace notes, because I don't know where I'm going, and I'm being fed what the next corner is real time as I'm trying to keep the car on the road for the corner that I'm in. This is a new challenge.
Then 200, all the way, all the way, all the way. At the end of 200, 6 left, continues to 250, and then tightens into 5 left.
Is the 6 left?
6 left, continues, okay, into 5 left, slowing, logs inside, and 40, 1 left, 1 left, 1 left, 1 left, now.
Yep.
Over bump and 40, 3 left.
By the time we get to stage 4, the pace notes are clicking into place, and we're starting to understand how the car moves, and we're able to explore some of the angles that we can get it to.
Press 4 right, tightens into 2 right, tightens into 2, 2,
Yep.
and opens over 130, and 6 left.
By the time we get back to service, we're 87th overall out of 156 starters, and we have just taken first in class with the guy in second keeping us really honest, only a couple of seconds behind. After lunch it's a second loop of the same 4 stages, but the Welsh weather has kicked in and now it is pissing down and everything is a lot slippier.
100, beautiful. Middle of
This played into our hands, however, because it masked the lack of power the car has and gave me the opportunity to explore, again, interesting angles that I could get the car to with some excessively enthusiastic driving.
and square right. 4 left, into 5 right, slowing, small crest, 2 left.
Yep. Hello, there you go, there's the 2 left.
And 1 right,
Yep.
into 1 left, and 65 left. Beautiful.
And let me tell you, changing up to 5th on a mountain gravel track, taking armfuls of steering lock to keep the car in a straight line, well, yeah, that is an experience.
Oh, brave boy, David.
At the end of 230, 5 right,
Yep.
and 100. 6 left, and 60, 6 right.
Up to stage 7, we continue to press hard and learn the car and the conditions, but for stage 8, with the prospect of second in class being a long way down the road, we decide to wind it in and just get the finish and not take any risks. And that was broadly how the stage went until I didn't hear this call.
Tightens into 3 right, bogs inside, loose.
So this happened.
That was that.
Whoa, okay, good man. 8.
Now the competitive piece of this rally finished 2 corners down the road. So we were really lucky to get away with this massive moment. After that, all we had to do was just drive back to Rally HQ, hand in our time cards to finish 74th out of 156 starters and first in class in the road rally class. Now that makes it 7 events, 7 finishes and 8 awards. Just no words. Amazing. So that's it. The first 7 events and 12 months of my stage rallying journey. Now you may have noticed the voice coming from the co-driver's seat changed throughout the events. So I started off with a chap called Paul Price, who is my partner's father, who is a rally co-driver of over 40 years experience. Now he started me off on the right track with some words of wisdom. He was then replaced by his daughter and my partner Vicky.
And 90 right, going to be a dip.
Who has done a hell of a lot of rallying from both seats, who was just, well, yeah,
90 left.
gorgeous and fantastic. And finally, I had my friend Martin sit in for a few events, and he's a bit new to this, but I tell you what, absolutely smashed it. Alongside those guys, I had lots of support from other people like my parents, my Paul's wife Annie, and everyone else who's been really supportive. And if they weren't in the car with me, they were the helping service or running around getting tyres sorted for me and or feeding us on events.
Muffins, cups.
So it really has been a team effort. So thank you very much, guys. Speaking of a team effort, thank you very much you guys for watching this video so far and for also supporting the channel throughout, because without the YouTube channel, I would not have been able to have done any of this. If anyone fancies watching any more of the in-car, I'm planning on setting up like a companion channel, so it'll have stuff like that on it and maybe some of the more geeky bits and bobs. So keep an eye in the description, because I'll put the name of the channel down there when I've decided what it's going to be. In the future, I've got a few mods planned for the MG. Yeah, you've guessed it, more power, but also don't forget, I've got the BMW as well, and I've got some plans for that. But anyway, thank you for watching, and remember, stay hydrated.